Hey everyone, it's time for another edition of Beaver Banter.
Beaver Sports Talk lives here.
It is the Beaver Banter podcast presented by Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation. I'm CJ Baumgartner. There is Ian Rivers. Always a great day to be a Beaver, Ian. Dare I say, feels like spring out there. And granted, it's really windy, really dry. Could maybe use a little splash of rain here and there. But overall, good to see that we're finally out of the woods on there. And then it kind of makes talking about spring sports feel a little bit more real.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it could be what it was this weekend where we actually got snow again, and it was like 9 degrees with wind chill when I woke up.
It melted immediately, kind of
yeah.
by the end of the day, but it's still waking up in late April and going, not the best sign. So a good sign, though, is Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation, proud sponsors of the Beaver Banter podcast. Want to remind you, once a Beaver, always a Beaver. The Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation is here to keep that green and white pride going strong for its 50,000 graduates around the world. From scholarships that open doors for students to events that bring BSU alumni and friends together, you can get connected, give back, and leave a legacy at Bemidji State. Whether you're a proud BSU grad, a local supporter, or you just love cheering on the Beavers, come be a part of the action at bsualumni.org. That's bsualumni.org. Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation, proud supporters of the Beaver Banter podcast. Okay, Ian, so we should say right off the bat that this week is going to be a little bit of a two-parter, looking at the episode time, and hopefully we stay true to our word. Usually we talk about doing a short show, and then we look up and we've got 55 minutes on here. But we are going to try and do it in halvesies this week because we got something special lined up with hockey kind of transfer portal stuff related, trying to get some guests rallied together. So, Ian, I think our soft plan is to get a little episode out like we usually do, recapping all the other stuff, and then take a deep dive with some special guests, insiders, and just kind of people who know puck later in the week.
Yeah, 100%. It's been a while since we've done a fully hockey-centric episode. Of course, is one of the more popular sports in the greater Bemidji area. So with the Wild's playoff push in full swing, I figured maybe we'd, and of course the transfer portal being opened and some news happening helps get some more stuff to talk about. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a fun episode.
Right. Going to be fun. So there's your tease that's coming up. So be ready for an extra episode later in the week. We're going to keep this current episode a little bit more brief. That way you have time to digest this one and get ready for that hockey one coming up later. So without further ado, Ian, let's jump right in and let's talk a little men's golf. They had their NSIC championship meet and did pretty darn well, finishing in 4th place when it was all said and done. And just another kind of top half, another top quarter, if you will, NSIC finish for Beaver Men's Golf, a program that's been consistently good year in and year out in the NSIC.
Yeah, 100%. It's not quite the heights of a couple of years ago when they were able to take home that championship, but it's good to see that year over year they're putting in competitive results in almost every meet that they're in. And then when it comes time for the big one, the NSIC championship, they're always pulling their weight, at least over the last, 3 to 4 years that we've really been covering them. So it's very good, very good. Looks like Logan Shep, the senior, was who led the Beavers and tied for 3rd, shooting a 1 over par at 217. Shep is going to be missed, him being a
very
senior.
Missed.
He's put in quite a few good years here for BSU. So hopefully they can replace him in the aggregate next year and years to come. But yeah, a good result, not much else to say about it. Of course, it's hard to watch this type of event. You mostly just keep track of it over the live stats, but it makes it a little bit harder than I'd like, maybe. And
Ian's following the live stats, by the way, but he has Jim Nance's play-by-play in his head. He's just kind of like backfilling it with all the information. It's like Logan Shep goes up to the 3rd hole, stripes it right down the fairway. Look at that shot.
Yes.
Hello, friends. That's
And I'm such a golf expert. I just know exactly what everything means and how to articulate it. So.
I'm a good golf expert. I know that when you have those shots of the golfers that shank the shot and you can hear the hot mic have them dropping an F-bomb, I know that means that wasn't what they wanted to have happen. So, that's just my expert analysis. Hey, by the way, so Shep finishing in the top 5 at the NSIC championship for the 3rd time in his career, 2nd lowest score in the tournament. He led the tournament, finishing 3 under par on par 4s and totaled 10 birdies on the day. Should be noted, Winona State did win their 16th NSIC Men's Golf Championship as the 54-hole championship concluded on Sunday afternoon in Smithville, Missouri. So they won the field by 20 strokes. So was not even close. They ran away with that thing. So Tegan LaPlante tied for 6th, shooting 2 over par, led the Beavers and tied for 4th overall with 11 birdies in the tournament. Julius Arnkiel had tied for 25th in shooting, 229, tied for most pars in the tournament. Cullen Ryan finished 38th, shooting a 237. Charlie Williams shot 77 and 78 in the first 2 rounds of the tournament and was subbed by Brogan Paschal in the 3rd round, who shot 1 under par with the 71, the best round by a Beaver on the final day. So again, that wraps up their NSIC portion, and they prepare for that NCAA Super Regional and see how that all goes as we take a look on the schedule here at Men's Golf to see if that's popped up at all, to see if we have any kind of date. And no, it is not. So not quite sure.
Would they have qualified for that?
That's what it says in the press release here that they did, or that at least it implies it, I should say.
Well,
so we'll see. That's at least what I'm picking up here if I'm finding the right information here. So
well, if they're involved in that again, more power to them. I'm not going to complain. I know the other year the reason they got in was, of course, because they won the NSIC, but perhaps there's
oh no, sorry. This is from no, they did not. I found a different. There was a different article that I thought was the same thing, but turns out it was from a couple years ago. So Sorry about that. Sure. Okay, yeah, there we go. We'll edit that out. So there you go. Yeah. Anyway,
it's all right. It's all right.
There we go. We will not edit that out, by the way. All right. Women's golf, by the way, they did not compete this week because they are getting ready for their NSIC tournament and trying to wrap up their season on a high note. They have 1 set of meets left at the NSIC Championships in Blue Springs, Missouri, Adams Point Golf Club. So a little bit different spot there for the women. So best of luck to them. So that kind of wraps up our golf discussion here. Let's go from the links. Let's go and take a peek at track and field and see how things ended up going over the weekend for Bemidji State. They kind of had a flurry of things on the schedule at first glance, but on Thursday, they ended up competing at the Dewey Donnet Classic in Aberdeen, and they finished 6th out of 8 as a team. The field athletes had themselves a day overall. They walked away from the meet with a school record, 2 facility records, 2 event wins, 3 NCAA Division II national rankings, and 8 personal bests. So how about that? Allison Levine and Zeta Preby earned 1st and 3rd respectively in discus. Levine had the number 17 throw in NCAA Division II with 47.48 meters. Preby took the number 58 spot with 44.31. Trista Bilden found the national spot with 85th and a 4th place finish in the shot put at 12.94 meters. Levine, along with Sophie Rylance, both earned event wins for the Beavers. Amelia Congrove in the 400-meter hurdle had a personal best. She finished with 8th. Sophie Rylance had a facility record with 217.93 in the 800-meter run. And then for Allison Levine, the discus throw was a personal best, facility record, a school record for Bemidji State, and the NCAA's Division II spot at number 17. And then, of course, Ellie Betcher, 40.27 meters was a personal best. Josie Rysted, 35.13 in the discus was a personal best for her as well. Personal best for Hannah Baker, Ellie Betcher, Josie Rydstead. They finished 6th, 9th, and 15th in the hammer throw, respectively there. Chloe Knott, 3.27 in the pole vault was a personal best. She finished 6th. And, of course, Trista Bilden, 4th in the shot put with the personal best and the 85th finish in Division II. So, overall, pretty good weekend for the Beavers.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting how there's like all these different sort of, it's not only their personal best, but it's a school record and it's a facility record as well. Like
So
holding
I
a
think it just
facility
means the
record is
best at that current school would be my guess. I mean, I'm not the biggest track and field buff, so I would guess it just means that at the Dewey Donick Classic, nobody.
right. That's exactly what I take it to mean as well. So, I mean, it makes sense that they
You'd
would
think?
keep those stats as well, but interesting. It's becoming a bit baseball pilled where there's a stat for everything. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Exactly. Or there's at least a specific name. And those who
Yeah.
know are like, oh my gosh, a facility record. And you're like, oh, yes, of course, a facility record. And you have
Mhm.
to kind of nod your head and wait for somebody to kind of give you further context to piece things together. So, exactly. It was a great meet for BSU track and field. They will once again hit the road. They will be in Simpson, Iowa for a litany of events coming up later in the week. Thursday, Friday, they're at the Kip Jarvin Open in Simpson, Iowa. The relays will be in Des Moines for the Drake relays Thursday through Saturday. And then on Friday, the Grandview Viking Classic in Des Moines, which is a different meet. Again, so you probably, if again, just there are specific events, and sometimes you have like, hey, we're going to take our field events, they're going to go to this specific meet, and our runners are going to go to this specific meet, and our relays are going to go here. Again, very track and field, nitty gritty stuff there, where it's not just everybody goes to one exact meet. Sometimes you're like, hey, we know these schools are going to this meet for these events, and that's going to be good competition. So we want to see how we rank there, basically. So anyway, and then on May 2nd, there's the Cobber Open, and then May 2nd, I should say, is the Cobber Open 2. And then May 7th, 7 is the NSIC Championship. So not that far away from track and field, kind of putting a bow on the season. So best of luck to them coming up this week. And hey, let's keep smashing some records here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go from the track and let's go to the diamond. But before we do that, Ian, let's give another shout out to Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation.
Do you want to be a part of the team behind the teams at Bemidji State? Join hundreds of dedicated fans when you donate to Beaver Athletics and help BSU pursue its next championship. Your gift can power your favorite program, establish a scholarship for a student athlete you get to meet, and so much more. Every dollar brings the Beavers closer to raising another trophy. You can add to the proud tradition of success at Bemidji State. So don't wait. Give today at bsualumni.org/Beavers. That's bsualumni.org/BEAVERS.
Okay, Ian, as we move now to the diamond, let's start with Bemidji baseball. And once again, rolling through their season, we're able to get some matchups since we last spoke. They took on UMD at the BSU baseball field. Couple tough losses. Lost 9-8, lost 9-6. Couldn't quite come away with some victories in that one. Couple close matchups in that doubleheader last Thursday. As you kind of take a peek and just try and recap some things from the Beavers in both of the games. Once again, kind of as you go down the stat sheet, Adrian Falcon ended up getting his first home run of the season in the two matchups. So, hey, shout out to him in those games. Also, Hunter Hayden getting his first home run of the year in the Blast as well. So a couple shout outs for the Beavers, even though they couldn't quite come away with the wins in those matchups. Then they have some series against University of Sioux Falls. They go down to Sioux Falls for those, lose the first one 18-7, lose the next one 8-4. But then in the second game of a doubleheader on that Sunday, your getaway game, you're able to get an 8-6 victory and come away with the matchup there. As the Beavers and, by the way, Sioux Falls both score 4 runs apiece in the top of the 8th inning to get away with that one. So Bemidji State really stacking on the insurance, helped them hang on to win that final game of the series at Sioux Falls. Again, no home runs in that game, but doubles for Jack Feldman, Bo Toma, Nash Rubens, and Joe Hansen. So once again, the Beavers offense getting going. That was in game 1, of the series. And then you also have home runs for Hunter Hayden, Jack Feldman. They each get home runs in game 2. And then in game 3, Bo Toma gets a double. So does Hunter Hayden and Cooper Anderson. So again, the sticks have been rolling. This Beaver offense, I think, has never been in question over the course of the season. I think they really have done a good job. And something we've talked about too with the coaches, and when we were able to talk with assistant coach Schaefer about some of the things of the program and just some of the things that they want to get going. I think Bemidji State's offense, and again, it's kind of been hit or miss depending on who you've played, but generally speaking, the offense has gotten going. It's just trying to find a way to get the pitching to match that a little bit. And I think, again, it's baby steps, but overall, good to see the Bats get alive in a conference that's known for offense. So the Beavers right there with everybody. But Bemidji State going to have a couple games coming up on Wednesday afternoon. So hopefully you've listened to the podcast before then. If not, you'll know the results. It's at the BSU baseball field against Crookston, a doubleheader. And then on Saturday, they have a 4-game series, a doubleheader on Saturday, a doubleheader on Sunday against Minot State. And then they only have 4 more games of the regular season. They go to Mary, they go to Concordia St. Paul for Mary for 2, Concordia for 3, and then the season wraps up. So just a handful of games left and under 10 games to go, under 9 for the Beavers 11 games to go as they wrap up the season. And then NSIC tournament starts Wednesday, May 6th. And based on where the Beavers are sitting in, unlikely that they're going to be able to sneak into that NCAA or NSIC tournament, beg your pardon. But again, just ending that season on a high note, trying to stack some wins, trying to feel good about where you're at going into the offseason. You're 8-28 overall, 5-20 in the NSIC. And if you go back a year ago to this Beaver squad, they were 7-40. So they already matched last year's win total. They're 1 win away from matching last year's win total in the conference. They were 6-34 in the conference last year. They were 7-40 overall. So again, it doesn't sound like much, Ian, but again, just these little strides that you're trying to make as a program. And I think overall, just with what they've been doing, again, they're 5-20 in conference right now, 8-28 overall, with the things that Matt Ellinghausen and Davis Schaefer, Sam Kalber, Gavin Miller, Hayden Smith, kind of all managers and coaches on this staff, what they've kind of been putting together here, Ian, it at least feels like there's momentum building, you know?
Yeah, that's something I was going to bring up too, is like you said, it's saying that out loud and being 8 and whatever at this point, it doesn't sound that great. But when you consider the context of what we've had over the last, however long, this is the most wins they've had under head coach Matt Ellinghausen, and it's the most so far they've had since 2021 with 8. That steps in the right direction. It's not just like, we had 7 wins last year, but it was 10 the year before. So yeah, we've taken a step forward from last year, but it's all pretty good. I think that this, we talked to Davis a couple of weeks ago, and if you haven't heard that, obviously go back and listen to it. He said that we're trying to build something a little bit better. We're not here to be content with being the bottom feeder of the conference. And I think these are steps in the right direction. There's still, like you said, CJ, like 11 games left of the regular season. Who knows? I doubt it. Like you said, that they're going to make the NSIC tournament. But at the end of the day, can you pick up 2, 3, maybe 4 more wins on the schedule and just try to make that even more momentum and get your best win total since pre-COVID? Like these are all goals that you can still have over the next 2 to 2.5 weeks of baseball.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough, obviously, facing teams like Minnesota Crookston, who has been, if you remember way back when they had the Dykoff brothers and when they had Keps, and they had kind of like every good baseball player from central Minnesota that just decided they were going to go play at Minnesota Crookston, at least everybody from all the high schools I grew up around. They had a really good program for a while. They're still respectable at 22-17 overall, so going to be interesting to see how the Beavers shake up there. But again, Concordia St. Paul's a little below 500. They're 500 in the conference. There's not to say that every game is winnable, but there's some games there to be had if you can pick things up. Right now, you look, Bemidji State is in the bottom part of the conference at 5-21. It is the worst conference mark. They're 2 games behind Jamestown, 3 behind Southwest Minnesota State, 4 behind Northern State, and then you're about 7 games back behind Minot State. So there is an opportunity there if you can take advantage to just try and pick up a couple and, again, build some momentum as you go into that end of the season. If you go to the top of the conference, it's Minnesota State. They're 23-4. Augustana's 21-6. UMary is 18-9. Sioux Falls 16-10. Winona State 15-11. Minnesota Crookston 15-12. St. Cloud State 14-12. Wayne State 15-15. So is Concordia St. Paul. Minnesota Duluth at 13 and 17, Minot at 12 and 16, Northern State at 9 and 18, Southwest Minnesota State at 8 and 21, and Jamestown 7 and 19, and then Bemidji State at 5 and 21. So there's your look there. As we now move over from one diamond to another, let's take a look at the NSIC softball and Bemidji State softball to get a little more granular than that for the team. They came away through the weekend. Their record right now sitting 10 and 33, 4 and 16 overall in the conference. And for this Beaver team, they were able to stack up some wins, a win since we last talked. Back-to-back wins. We talked about them getting a victory over Northern State last Sunday. Well, they got another 2-1 win over Minnesota State Moorhead, 2-1 on Thursday, and then they ended up losing the second game of that one, 12-5. So first game was 2-1. They got a victory there, then lost 12-5, and then got swept against Minnesota Crookston, lost game 1, 9-1, lost game 2, 13-5. In that matchup. So they'll wrap up parts of the regular season here. It's broken up a little bit differently. On Wednesday, they have a doubleheader against Minnesota Duluth, and that'll be in Duluth. And then their senior day at the BSU softball field on Saturday, a doubleheader against Winona State. And then on Sunday, alumni weekend against Minnesota State University Mankato. They have a doubleheader notched up there. And then there's only 4 more games on their schedule before things wrap up. Again, where the Beavers sit, unlikely they are going to make that NCAA tournament, or NSIC tournament, I should say. Unlikely they're going to make that. So as Bemidji State, they're 4 and 16 in the conference. UMary 3 and 19. They're the team behind them. MSU Moorhead 5 and 15 as well. But Minnesota Crookston 7 and 13 on the year as well in the conference. So that's where the BSU softball team sits. And again, just trying to build that momentum to get to the end of the season, Ian, and see where things fall with this softball squad. Again, trying to pick up the offense and just get a little more consistent scoring as you wrap up the season. Y'all good over there?
Yeah, I forgot my mic was still on, and I sat up in my chair a little bit straighter, and it's, of course, pretty squeaky if nobody.
I thought you got jumped on by the dog or something like that.
No,
that's what I was hoping
no.
for. Dang it.
No, unfortunately not. But yeah, exactly. Kind of in a similar situation to BSU baseball, where they're just trying to build on some success that they've had over the last 2 weeks. They picked up a couple wins. The runs have started to be a little bit better. You know, they got 5 runs in 2 of these games over the weekend. Of course, 2 and 1, and the other ones is, you know, less than ideal. But the one game that they scored 2 runs, they ended up winning. So, you know, you can't fault them too much for getting a win. But yeah, over the next 10 games or so to close out the season, it's just going to be picking up as many good results as you can and feeling good about yourself as an individual on and off the diamond, of course, as always. So
yeah, again, trying to pick up that momentum to feel like, hey, we got something. Let's just push forward and get another year in. Of course, it is a step back from last year. They were 21 and 31, but again, trying to just pick up those pieces and keep things moving. They were 8 and 20 in the conference last season. To end the campaign, they are 4 and 16 now. It's going to be tough, but you can match that win total over the next couple of weeks, or at least get close. And again, try and get that win total a little bit closer to last season, and then kind of say, okay, we took a little bit of a step back, but not that big of a step back. How do we push forward? There is that opportunity over the final couple of weeks for BSU softball. So, Ian, I think that covers all of our spring sports here as we wrap up. Again, want to remind you that we are going to be doing an episode later in the week, so stay tuned for that wherever you get your podcast.
CJ, we have to talk about tennis.
YouTube. Oh yeah, tennis. That's right.
Yeah. The biggest story of the spring sports so far. Tennis made the NSIC tournament for the first time.
I was all ready to talk the spring football game, but yeah, here we go. Let's get to tennis. Let's get to the court.
We gotta at least shout them out. We did touch on it. There's not been anything that's happened since last week, I suppose. But officially, it will be this Friday at 4:30. The Beavers' first match will be against Sioux Falls in the quarterfinal round. And then let me see what the bracket looks like. It was up here just a moment ago, and now I've lost it.
Oh, I hate when that happens. But yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be huge for this tennis team. First time they've competed in the tournament since what, 2021? I think we said.
Yeah, I think 2021 is the stat there. If they win, they would go on to face Minnesota State in the second round of the semifinals of the tournament. And then if they're able to win that, they would have a matchup most likely with the Augustana Vikings, who have not lost in like, I don't know,
A billion
45
years?
years or something like that, whatever it was that we talked about last year. So, hey, honestly, if they can win one match, I mean, just getting there is a good step in the right direction for the program. Especially after last year, they came so close and just weren't able to get in. It is a step in the right direction, but it'd be cool to see them go on and win a match in the NSIC tournament too. So that's, again, Friday at 4:30, and then that would be followed up. I don't know exactly what time the next game would be, but of course, if you're interested in following the first game, I'm sure you'll be able to figure out what time the second game would be on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. It's all kind of to be determined depending on how things roll throughout the day. And again, if we have the watch option here on bsubeavers.com. If you go to tennis and you go to their schedule and you go to the bottom for the NSIC tournament, it has their match, I should say, against Sioux Falls. And you just click watch, and there you go. You can roll in and get that going there. Should be stated, Bemidji State 1-15 all time against USF, a 9-match losing streak. Last win came in 2017 on February 26th. So there we go. Why not us? Why not now?
Yeah, it was not that long ago that the Beaver football team had not won in Duluth since like World War II era. So, if not now, when? We say that a lot on this podcast, but feels like an appropriate time to say it again. I'm hoping that there's a little bit better coverage, maybe. Who knows? But the watch option is, I think, most of the time available for the tennis matches, but it's usually just a camera that happens to be in the gym, and maybe it's pointing the right direction to see the tennis courts.
There's not going to be a full broadcast. This is not the U.S. Open, but you can at least follow along and see some kind of video and maybe some graphics. I guess I'm not sure how they have that all quite set up, but still going to be cool to see that all come to fruition. And again, even if this is it for Beaver Tennis for the season, like you mentioned, Ian, still just a really, really good step in the right direction for the program, and just been really fun to follow along through the spring sports season. So now, as we look at wrapping things up for the show, now that we got that cleared up, good catch on that one. The spring game happened at the Chet, and there's not really any official score, even if they kept score, really. But the spring game took place at the Chet, happened around 2:00 that day against MSUM. And again, always really fascinating to see. It's not really a spring game, more like a spring scrimmage. And it's just, a good way to kind of reward everybody for doing spring practices. Is like, all right, you guys did all this stuff. We'll play a little game. We'll give everybody a chance to do some live reps. And it's not really going to mean anything because we're all going to take a break and not put the pads on again officially until July, late July, early August. But it's still just good to get things going and kind of get everything in the right direction for the start of football season. And again, I'm just optimistic about football. I'm also delusional. So let's keep that in mind. But I think we're going to see a good bounce back season from Beaver football, just with the infrastructure of this team, with the talent that this team has had, the coaches on staff, everything about this program just leads me to believe that even though last year things went bad for the program, things are not good. That is not the new norm. Things are going to be much closer to how they were over the last 5 years than they were last year,
Yeah, of course. I do expect to bounce back as well. I don't know how much of a bounce back it'll be. I'm hoping that they're just right back to playoff contenders, but I do think they'll do better than is it 4-7 this year?
They'll compete for a winning. They'll be in the mix for a winning record by the end of the year.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so that's what it's all about. And then if things line up, you see where you're at. But again, and this is a tough conference, so it's not to say that they're just going to walk in and take anything, but it's going to be there if they want it. And if they're kind of lining things up the way they usually have, they're going to be in the mix, which will be really fun to see that all come together. I'm hopeful. I'm delusional. I'm ready for it. Let's go. Start popping the pads again. The NFL draft is this week, so I'm ready for it. So we get ready for it. And should be, again, another good reminder. It was this day, all of a sudden, what feels like for not that long ago, but 7 years ago, Gunnar Olszewski went undrafted, got signed to the New England Patriots on a kind of rookie camp invite, snuck an invite onto training camp, and the rest is history. And I think we called it on R&B Sports Talk because that was back when we had the show. And as soon as Gunnar announced, or it was announced that Gunnar Olszewski was going to the Patriots, we're like, oh gosh, he's making the team, isn't he? Like the one quote Bill Belichick had about him was like, well, he played baseball, shows he's a good two-sport athlete, good, all that stuff. It's like, oh no, he's done a lot of, they've done a lot of work on this guy, actually. Like, this isn't just whatever, here you go. Bill Belichick's dropping the fact that you were a catcher on the baseball team for multiple seasons. It's like, nope, they're invested. And he ended up making the team as a special teamer and has been in the league ever since, which is, again, just really cool. But we just got to shout out that I know we are obviously hopeful, and what else are we supposed to say? Oh, he's going to get cut immediately. But I think it was cool on our part that right away we saw it and we're like, it's going to work, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, we know ball. Every once and then.
We're going to show on Thursday, we know puck. So
yes, exactly.
Later in the week. So so that's all going to be later in the week. Again, we're going to have kind of a meeting of the minds with some of the great Bemidji hockey voices and personalities, and we're going to talk a little bit about the transfer portal with Beaver hockey, break some things down, kind of a season in review, if you will, too. So we're going to wrap things up for today early and go check out all we have there. Ian, want to plug the Discord one more time before we get out of here?
Yeah, of course. Join the Beaver Banter Discord. Been some chatter in there today. It's always a good place to be over the summer when your mind's kind of not thinking about BSU sports, but you kind of want to stay updated. There's not too much that happens over the summer. Obviously, it's not the school year. There's just not much news that happens.
There's some good talking for NHL playoffs and NBA playoffs. And
yep. You get to see the BSU young boy crash out on John Hines after last night's game. But yeah, it's fun in there. It's fun.
It's a fun place to go, let off some steam, chat with the other Beaver faithful, and see what's going on. So it's going to do it for this episode. It's the Beaver Banter podcast presented by Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation. We'll see you later in the week.